Let history speak. In the heart of ancient Mesopotamia, around 2600 BC, there stood a city that was a beacon of civilization, Ur, at this time. A man named Meskiagnuna, the priest-king of Ur, was about to step onto the stage of history, unaware that his reign would leave an indelible mark on the Sumerian civilization. The ascent of the priest-king. The city of Ur was a bustling metropolis in the Sumerian landscape. It was a place where the smell of baking bread filled the air. The sound of artisans' hammers echoed through the streets. And the canals carried life, giving water to the fertile fields. The Sumerians were a people with a rich culture, worshipping a pantheon of gods and goddesses. Meskiagnuna was born into a family with a long-standing connection to the temple. His early life was spent in the shadow of the ziggurat, the massive stepped pyramid that was the center of religious and political life in Ur. From a young age, he was groomed to be a priest, learning the complex rituals, the ancient cuneiform script, and the secrets of the gods. The Sumerian society was a complex web of power dynamics. The priests held a significant amount of influence, as they were seen as the intermediaries between the people and the gods. The farmers, who toiled in the fields, provided the food that sustained the city. The artisans, with their skills in pottery, metalworking, and weaving, created the goods that were traded both within and outside the city. And the merchants, with their caravans, brought in exotic goods from far-off lands. As Meskiagnuna grew older, he began to show signs of a brilliant mind and a strong leadership spirit. He quickly rose through the ranks of the priesthood. His knowledge of the religious texts and his ability to perform the rituals with precision made him a favorite among the other priests. But he was not content with just being a priest. He had a vision for Ur, a vision of a city that would be the envy of all the Sumerian city-states. One of the first challenges he faced was the issue of water management. The canals that irrigated the fields were in a state of disrepair. Floods would often destroy the crops, and droughts would leave the land parched. Meskiagnuna knew that without a proper water management system, the city's prosperity was at stake. He organized the people of Ur to work on the canals. He used his influence as a priest to convince the farmers and the laborers that this was a task ordained by the gods. Under his leadership, the canals were dredged and new dams were built. The water was now flowing smoothly, and the fields were producing bumper crops. This not only ensured food security for the city, but also increased the wealth of Ur through trade. The surplus grain was traded for precious metals, stones, and other luxury goods. As his reputation grew, Meskiagnuna began to take on more political responsibilities. The city-state of Ur was constantly at odds with its neighboring city-states. There were disputes over land, water rights, and trade routes. Meskiagnuna, with his diplomatic skills, was able to negotiate treaties with some of the neighboring city-states. He formed alliances that were beneficial for Ur, allowing the city to expand its influence and trade network. He also played a crucial role in the development of the legal system in Ur. The Sumerians had a set of laws that governed various aspects of life, from property rights to marriage and divorce. Meskiagnuna, with his knowledge of the religious and moral codes, helped in the codification of these laws. He made sure that the laws were fair and just, and that they were enforced equally among all the people of Ur. In the cultural sphere, Meskiagnuna was a patron of the arts. He encouraged the development of literature, music, and architecture. The ziggurat in Ur was renovated and expanded under his rule. It became an even more magnificent structure, a symbol of the city's power and the people's devotion to the gods. The scribes in Ur were busy writing down the stories of the gods, the history of the city, and the laws. These cuneiform tablets were not only a means of record-keeping, but also a form of cultural expression. However, not everyone in Ur was happy with Meskiagnuna's growing power. There were some in the priesthood who were jealous of his influence. They saw him as a threat to their own positions. There were also some merchants who felt that his trade policies were too restrictive. They wanted more freedom to trade with whomever they wanted, without the interference of the state. These internal dissenters were like a ticking time bomb, waiting to explode and disrupt the peace and prosperity that Meskiagnuna had worked so hard to build. But for now, Meskiagnuna was riding high. His name was spoken with reverence in the streets of Ur. He was seen as a savior, a man who had brought stability and growth to the city. His reign was a time of great progress for the Sumerian civilization. But little did he know that the challenges ahead would be even greater. The modern perspective, in today's world, we can see parallels with the role of leaders in developing countries. Just like Meskiagnuna, modern leaders often have to balance the needs of different sectors of society. They have to invest in infrastructure, such as water management systems, to ensure the well-being of the people. They also have to deal with internal dissent, whether it's from rival political groups or business interests. And in the cultural sphere, leaders today are also expected to promote and preserve the cultural heritage of their countries, just as Meskiagnuna did for Ur. As the sun set over the ziggurat of Ur, Meskiagnuna looked out over the city he loved. He knew that there were still many challenges ahead, but he was ready to face them head-on. Little did he know that the next phase of his reign would be filled with even more drama and conflict. The key plot here is the transformation of Meskiagnuna from a priest to a priest-king. The turning point was when he took on the responsibility of water management, which not only improved the city's economic situation, but also increased his political influence. The core conflict was the emerging internal dissent, with the jealous priests and discontented merchants being the antagonists. This is just the beginning of the story of Meskiagnuna, the priest-king of Ur. The stage is set for more exciting events as we continue to explore the Sumerian civilization. Trials and tribulations of the priest-king. The internal dissent that had been simmering in Ur finally boiled over. The jealous priests, along with a group of discontented merchants, formed an alliance against Meskiagnuna. They spread rumors about him, saying that he was using his power for personal gain, and that he was not following the will of the gods. The people of Ur, who had once revered Meskiagnuna, were now confused. Some started to question his actions. The stability that he had worked so hard to build was now at risk. The economy began to suffer as trade was disrupted. The merchants, who were part of the opposition, stopped trading with some of the established partners, causing a shortage of goods in the city. In the midst of this internal chaos, Ur also faced external threats. A neighboring city-state, jealous of Ur's prosperity, decided to launch an attack. The enemy army, led by a fierce general, advanced towards Ur. Meskiagnuna knew that he had to act quickly. He gathered his loyal soldiers, who were mostly farmers and laborers, who had benefited from his water management projects. The battle that ensued was a fierce one. The enemy army was well trained and had better weapons, but the soldiers of Ur fought with a passion, knowing that they were defending their city and their way of life. Meskiagnuna led from the front, inspiring his troops with his courage. In the heat of the battle, he was struck by an arrow, but he refused to back down. His determination was like a beacon of hope for his soldiers. Despite their best efforts, Ur was initially pushed back. The enemy army was on the verge of breaking through the city walls, but Meskiagnuna had a secret weapon. He had been working on a new military strategy, one that involved using the canals around the city to his advantage. He ordered his soldiers to open the floodgates at a strategic moment. The sudden rush of water caught the enemy army off guard. Many of their soldiers were swept away, and their formations were disrupted. This gave the soldiers of Ur the opportunity they needed. They launched a counterattack, and with a mighty push, they drove the enemy army back. The battle was won, but at a great cost. Many of Ur's soldiers had lost their lives, and the city was in a state of disrepair. Back in the city, Meskiagnuna had to deal with the aftermath of the battle and the internal dissent. He knew that he had to address the concerns of the people. He called for a great assembly in the courtyard of the ziggurat. He stood before the people, his body still bandaged from the battle wound, and spoke from the heart. He explained his trade policies, saying that they were designed to protect the interests of the city as a whole. He promised to make some adjustments to give the merchants more freedom. He also addressed the concerns of the priests, assuring them that he was still a devout servant of the gods, and that his actions were always in line with their will. Slowly, the people of Ur began to trust him again. The city started to rebuild. The damaged buildings were repaired, and the canals were once again restored. But the scars of the battle and the internal conflict were still there. In the meantime, Meskiagnuna also focused on strengthening the cultural and religious aspects of Ur. He commissioned new sculptures and paintings to adorn the temples. He encouraged the scribes to write more about the history and the legends of the Sumerian civilization. The ziggurat was once again the center of religious ceremonies, with people coming from far and wide to pay their respects to the gods. However, the neighboring state that had launched the attack was not going to give up easily. They started to form alliances with other city-states, plotting a new and more powerful attack on Ur. Meskiagnuna knew that he had to be prepared. He sent his messengers to other friendly city-states, asking for their support. He also began to train his soldiers more rigorously, using the lessons learned from the previous battle. As the threat of a new attack loomed large, Meskiagnuna faced another personal challenge. His health began to deteriorate. The wound from the battle had not fully healed, and the stress of running the city and preparing for war was taking its toll on him. But he refused to let his health problems stop him. He continued to work day and night, making plans for the defense of Ur. The final showdown came when the combined enemy forces advanced towards Ur. This time, the battle was even more intense. The enemy had learned from their previous mistakes and had a more coordinated attack. But the soldiers of Ur, under the leadership of Meskiagnuna, fought with all their might. In the end, Ur was victorious once again. The enemy forces were defeated, and the threat to the city was eliminated. But Meskiagnuna's health had reached its limit. He collapsed on the battlefield, his body finally giving in to the years of hard work and the injuries he had sustained. He was carried back to the city, where he was laid on his bed in the temple. The people of Ur gathered around him, their eyes filled with tears. Meskiagnuna, in his final moments, looked out at the city he had loved and protected. He knew that he had done his best for Ur and for the Sumerian civilization. With his passing, Ur entered a new era. His legacy, however, lived on. The water management systems he had built, the legal system he had helped to codify, and the cultural achievements he had promoted to shape the city for generations to come. The modern perspective, just like Meskiagnuna, modern leaders often face external threats from rival countries or groups. They have to make tough decisions, sometimes at the cost of their own well-being. The way Meskiagnuna balanced military strategies, internal politics, and cultural development is similar to how modern leaders have to juggle different aspects of governance. The story of Meskiagnuna, the priest king of yore, is a story of courage, leadership, and sacrifice. It is a story that reminds us of the power of human determination and the importance of preserving our cultural heritage. If you like this story, please follow, like, and share it.